Okay. When was the last time you sat still without looking at a screen or a to-do list? I wonder how many of you have a fitness tracker or a smartwatch, these devices that track steps, heart rate, even sleep. I'm told that they'll actually literally kind of vibrate and start shouting at you and telling you to move. Is that right? If you've not moved for a long time and you need to do some more steps. You see, we have trained our brains to believe that if we're not moving or producing or tracking progress, that we're failing. And I wonder, what if we carry this same productivity mindset into our spiritual lives? See, Jesus doesn't wear a smartwatch, does he? And he isn't tracking our spiritual progress. His command in John chapter 15 isn't produce, it's remain. Simply remain. If I could have the first slide further, or the next. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you.
Arhoswch yno fi, ac arhosa I yno chi. Fydd ffrwyth ddim yn tyfu ar gangen, oni bai bod hi'n dal ar y winwydden. Allech bywydau chi ddim bod yn ffrwythlon, oni bai eich bod chi wedi'ch cysylltu â mi.
I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples.
Dwi wedi'ch caru chi yn union fel mae'r tad wedi fy ngharu I. Aroswch yn fy nghariad I. Byddwch yn aros yn fy nghariad I trwy wneud beth dwi'n dweud, fel dwi wedi bod yn ufudd i'r un tad a wedi aros yn ei gariad o.
A diolch, Anne, I helpu. So, in that translation that I used for the English, there was a lot of use of the word remain. Other translations use a different word. They use the word abide, so you might be familiar with that. And I think that comes from a Greek, meno, which actually has a different word, and a word that I think perhaps gets even closer to the essence of what Jesus is saying here. And that word is dwell. Dwell in me, and I will dwell in you. Drigo and Cymraeg. And, you know, dwell, it's more than just, you know, going on an Airbnb for a little trip and then you stay for a day or two and then you go away. To dwell, it's about living in a place. Also, it means to think about something for a long time, to dwell on something. Another definition says it's to reside or stay as a permanent resident in a specific home or area. So where are you living? Where am I living? And what are you thinking about a lot? What am I thinking about a lot? Lots of questions. So, Jesus, it's his like his closing speech, his goodbye speech, if you remember, Alistair last week took us through some of that, and in describing how before he left, Jesus was talking to his followers about the gift, his gift that he was leaving, his parting gift of the Holy Spirit. And now he's coming even closer to that place, that time when he's going to leave them, and he's going to go, he's going to die. And it's his final statement to describe and say who he is. He says, I am the true vine. And he's saying something incredible here. His followers would have been very, very familiar with this metaphor of the vine. And previously, they've understood that to mean them as the people of Israel, his followers. But Jesus is saying, okay, the old is gone. There's something new. I need you to understand. I'm leaving you soon. Listen up. I'm going to teach you how to thrive and grow and remain healthy. I just want you to know I'm emphasizing how important it is to stay connected to me. I am the true vine. Your total dependence is now on me. Your first identification is now in me. And it's the same for us. It's the same for us. He goes on then, doesn't he, in the passage, Jesus, to say, what will be the consequences of remaining? No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. So let's have a bit of a deeper look at why it's so important to remain. Actually, what does this mean? What is he saying here? And what is the fruit we're to bear and how? It's all right. We're not going to be here all morning. Sounds a lot, but it won't be. You see, I think it's really easy for us to skim over the remain in me part. That comes first. Probably for a reason. But maybe we almost disregard the importance, the meaning, the implication here. You see, in our produce and achieving output-driven culture, it feels a little bit like we're hardwired to get straight to the, okay, what am I doing? What have I got to do? And I confess, I've misunderstood this passage. I've often thought of this as producing food, i.e., what am I doing? What stuff am I doing for God? Kind of trying to grow in a way that Tim Keller calls mechanical growth. You know, if I put some Bible study in, if I go to a church, if I go to my small group, perhaps some tithing, some fasting, talking to people about Jesus. But the onus there is on me. It's what am I doing? In researching, I read an article about someone's discussion with a vine dresser. A vine dresser just being a vine gardener. And she asked him what he paid most attention to when cultivating vines. And this was his answer. Vine dressers don't pay much attention to the fruit. And then he went on to explain. Yeah, it's not that they don't care about the fruit. It's just that by that point, the work is already done. All that matters to a good vine dresser is the health, quality, and vitality of the vine. If they tend to that, good fruit will be the natural byproduct. And I thought, okay, wow. So I did a little definition check. Well, what is the difference between to produce and to bear? This is what it says. To produce means to make, create, or cause something to happen from scratch. To bear means to carry, support, or hold the weight of something that is already growing or present. Those of you who've had babies will know about that. In general use, producing focuses on the creation or output, while bearing focuses on the carrying or yielding. This is Jesus' parting message. First and foremost, you must remain in me. Then and only then can you carry and yield the good fruit of God in your life. And I've got a little clip now that just, I think, illustrates this very well for us. Great. Thank you. So as we abide in Jesus, stay connected to him in prayer, in reading his words, making home with him, we will bear spiritual fruit. But it comes from that intimacy with Jesus first, in knowing him. Oops. We take this making home with him metaphor just a little bit further. I think maybe it helps to really understand this. In an ideal world, and I know we don't live in that, but they say home is where the heart is. Home is often seen as that place where you surround yourself with the people and things that make you feel comfortable, peaceful, safe. You share your deepest joys, longings, sadnesses, everything really, with those people. You can be yourself. You let these people help you, encourage you, teach you. And this is what it's like to make home with Jesus, to just remain, to dwell in him. So he is your person that is doing life with you. And I think in Romans 12, in the Message, that puts this really, really well in sort of language that we understand. I think we've got this on the screen. Yeah. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. So, share all your life with him. Only by resting in the love of God for you. That's harking back, I think, to the sense we're getting in worship. Only by resting in the love of God for you will love for God and others be produced in you. So we remain in Jesus, we stay connected, and fruit is this byproduct. But hold on, you say, that's not going to make me like Jesus overnight. What's all this about pruning and chopping branches? Our text says, doesn't it, God will prune the fruit-bearing branches so that they'll bear even more fruit. And he explains that actually this process started when we became Christians. In verse, I think 3 it is, when he says, you were made clean. That's actually the same sense. The word there has the same meaning of pruning, of things being stripped away. The bad habits from our lives, maybe. But at that point of decision to follow Jesus, that's just the start. Verse 7 talks about how we keep on flourishing by keeping his words, by keeping his commands. So it is that pruning and cultivation can take place through the habits that we establish into our lives. So if we think about that analogy of the vine, It's true that branches on the vine grow naturally, but every vine, yeah, thank you, every vine needs a trellis to grow properly. It needs some sort of support system to lift it up off the ground, to guide it to grow in the right direction. And wild vines, and you'll have seen them, there's plenty of those on our land, they're just going anywhere and everywhere. They only actually can bear a fraction of the fruit that they're capable of. And even that little fruit is very vulnerable to rot and disease and bacteria. So if we think of the trellis as active disciplines, just habits really that you put into your life to create space and opportunity for the life of the vine to flow into you. Some call this a rule of life, but it simply means how you order your life so that you can stay connected to the life of Jesus. You're the rhythms of life, so to speak. So for me, now, I mean, I've been a Christian quite some years, and, you know, I'm always trying to create better rhythms. So I'll just speak a little bit briefly about now, the here and now, and what I've started to do in terms of putting these rhythms in. I've started to actually take myself away into a little room, just back in my sort of house. And it's actually my therapy room, but I sit in the other chair that I don't usually sit in. And then I've got another chair opposite me. And I love to just come at the beginning of the day and spend this time with Jesus. It's just quiet. And I imagine Jesus sitting in that other chair. And it's, hi, I love you. I love you. You know, and it's the conversation that I'm trying to get in the habit of having and imagining Jesus starting and going into the day with me, where I can recall his promises to me. And I do use Lectio 365. Lots of people might be familiar with that, but it's just a way of helping me to pray, to read his word, to reflect, to worship. Another thing that I've started doing very recently, and so sometimes I do still forget, but I try and switch off my phone now to have a Sabbath on a Saturday. So the phone is off. I'm not being distracted by work emails or WhatsApp or just stuff. And I can just spend that time resting, enjoying my family, enjoying whatever God's got for me. And you know what I've realised, and again, all of these things, they're not a done deal. Please don't think I've got any of these sorted. Like I say, I got to 11 o'clock yesterday and, phone, you know, so there's just some other practices that I am trying to build in. But something I have been learning is, and recognising that when I get over busy, and I can get very over busy, sort of that overproductive part of me wants to do it, you know, sort of accelerates. I want to do even more. But the byproduct of that isn't good fruit. It's usually becoming critical, impatient, less tolerant, which is not good fruit. So God and I together, abiding in him in me, we can work out in that time, in that space, what needs pruning in order for me to flourish. And, you know, pruning can come also during times of struggle, and it often has for me. And again, I'm just going to give you some examples, and they're going to sound like a done deal and like, this is what happened, and this is how marvelous it was with God. Please don't hear it like that. These are just my ways of just trying to share with you actually some truths. So it was during a time of being rejected by friends, that I learnt the very hard way that only Jesus will never let me down. It was after the death of my best friend, well, apart from my husband, who is my best friend, and he's not died. But after the death of my best friend, and in deep sadness, that I did genuinely glimpse the understanding of the joy of the Lord being my strength. And it is in disappointment and frustration with my own efforts or abilities that God often gently whispers to me time and time again that when I am weak, he is strong. And in the most grieving, slow, and seemingly non-productive seasons, and one in particular, that I learned that being with God is not just very okay. It's what he desires most from me. Apart from me, you can do nothing, it says in verse 5. It is in releasing my self-important productivity and hard work that I am slowly learning that apart from Jesus, I can do nothing. Nothing of eternal value. That it's the him abiding in me abiding in him combination. That's the real deal. Being a good Christian is never about what I produce. Believing that is pride. And pride, it's a real whack-a-mole sort of sin for me. It's one of those things that just keeps popping up and I have to whack it back down. Constantly a battle with the help of the Holy Spirit. So as we come to the end, as I bring this to a close, we can see that by remaining in Jesus, we can flourish. And flourishing means releasing the myth that we can constantly produce. It means welcoming rest and allowing seasons of dormancy and pruning. The bottom line here, I believe, is that God is more interested in who we are becoming than what we produce. So as we do finish, we're going to share communion. And I want us to respond to what we've heard this morning. We've heard a lot. Maybe people heard something or something really resonated during the worship time. Maybe it's even a conversation you had coming in. I don't know. But God's here and God's been speaking. He knows how we need to respond. So I've got 3 questions that hopefully are going to come on the screen. And I've also got a song, Abide in Me, that I just want us to be quiet and listen to. It's not a song for joining in with. Just that I want you to listen and just reflect on those 3 questions. And then after some time, I'll invite you up to come and share communion. So there's a station going to be here. There's one at the back on my left over there. And then there's also one at the back with the lovely flowers. If you need gluten-free, that is where the gluten-free will be there. So over there, over here, and over here. So yeah. Let's just take some quiet time reflecting, and then I'll invite you up. Thank you.